Revelation chapter 6. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts, saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren, that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. And I beheld, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? I don't have a lot of things to say about Revelation chapter 6, but I'll just go through the list of notes. I think it seems like the first horses, at least the first two, do seem like historical figures that maybe nowadays we don't really know exactly who it is, but the first is on a white horse and has a bow, and I don't know, is that Genghis Khan? Or is the second one Genghis Khan? A red horse and a great sword. I mean, with figures like Genghis Khan, I generally tend to think that it's like not a legit person, just maybe it's based on somebody, but I figure that somebody as important as this, a historical character from the Bible that's mentioned like this, I just figure that it's been lost by now who the original person could be. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is somebody. You can let me know your theory. I think that I've heard that before, though. People saying like, oh yeah, Genghis Khan or so-and-so. Let me know who you think the people are. But it does seem like real historical figures who did a lot of stuff, conquered a lot of people, and killed a lot of people. When it gets to the black horse, the third beast... Oh, I guess I kind of skipped. I'll go back to the lamb at the beginning. I skipped the beginning. I saw... So, I just think maybe there's hinting here that timelines are not linear, because it was previously mentioned the lamb with 7 heads being... Or, not 7 heads. The lamb with 7 horns and 7 eyes being slain. And then now, later, it says, I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. So I think the vision changed, and it's like a flashback, or who knows, like, time doesn't need to be linear at this point. It's a vision. And I just thought I would point it out that the language says, I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals. I guess you could be confused and be like, wait, wasn't the Lamb just dead? But it's like, this is a series of visions, so you don't have to worry about time. So the fourth seal, death, and I didn't mention the red horse had a great sword. There's a lot of stories of great swords. Excalibur, Zelda has the Master Sword. Of course, they have a blasphemous title like Master. So it's certainly something that gets talked about in history and the media, and especially in those fables that are half historical, half who knows if these things are based off of real things. But I imagine that relics were like a real thing, and so great sword that could really be some historical figure who really did have a great sword, and probably killed a lot of people with it. I don't know. But I tend to think that these are based off of real things. I think that the white horse and the red horse seem like real people, and then it maybe gets more still real things, but I don't think necessarily based off of real people. Like the black horse, because who knows? I mean, maybe the black horse is some historical real person too, and it's beyond me, because that one's very strange. So the black horse, the balances, but who knows? It could have been some sort of judicial person. But the whole thing about a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley and save for a penny and save not. Man, I have no idea what's going on there, but it's certainly interesting. The fourth seal, death, hell follows them. So I mean that I think is more obviously probably not a historical person and is actually some sort of angelic, complicated, spiritual being, death. And I just noticed that the fourth seal is death, and then it listed 4 death types that followed, or that were related. Death by sword, death by hunger, death by death. Every once in a while I run into something like that where it's like, okay, yeah. Because I do have like a kind of wacky opinion that I think the King James Bible is like a lot closer to original than people know or let off. And I think that the secret to that is, I believe that modern day English is actually Chaldean, so ancient Babylonian. And it would kind of make sense to me that there would be a pretty good Bible written in Chaldean. I don't know. I'm not a historical person, but this is like my little pet theory. Anyways, sometimes it is obvious that some translation thing does happen. Like it seems odd, death by death seems a little redundant. But continuing, beasts of the earth. Just the fourth seal seems more general, whereas the first 2 seals seem like very pointed single people it's talking about. And then there's mention of under the altar, the whole scene with under the altar and the souls that are in there. That is such an interesting scene to me, and I think it's like a real place. I tend to think that these are like real places, like a real thing. And it's probably this like immense, I don't know, what does a container, something that contains souls look like? I don't know. I don't have any ideas, but I think it's like a real thing. And it mentions a little season, which gets brought up later. A little season. So but the whole thing about the souls under the altar, and then you're going to have to just wait a little bit. A lot of waiting going on. And it is a waiting game. We do just have to wait and be ready. And I think that's where we are, at the 5th seal, waiting for the 6th seal. So this is the timeline that I believe, because what's mentioned in the 6th seal, the big earthquake, I don't think that's happened yet. You know how our entire lives, at least if you lived on the West Coast or near there, or if you've ever heard of news from there, there's been mention of the big one the entire time I've ever been alive, just waiting for the big earthquake over here. It's like they know what's going to happen. And that's exactly what's talked about in the end. There's a huge earthquake in the end, and all sorts of things happen simultaneously. And this comes up in the gospel too. Jesus mentions these very things about happening when the end of the world comes. So it happens here in Revelation 6. The big one, the big earthquake. The sun goes black. It's because the sun is so hot, so bright, it's going to be like a light bulb that pops one day. The sun is just going to pop one day and go black because it's just going so crazy. The moon is going to turn to blood, and the heavens are going to depart like a scroll. And yeah, that's all biblical. It's all in other places in the Bible. So I like the last verses, so I'll just repeat them. And said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? God bless everyone.